Hey everybody, this is Maxine Taylor once again with another Trumpology report. And I think it's time to talk about Sally Yates and Devin, I want to say Nunes, but I've heard people pronounce his name Nunes. So I'm going to anglicize it and call him Nunes. Sally Yates, I'll start with her. The former acting attorney general was set to testify before Congress on possible ties between the United States and Russia, between Trump and Russia, and was fired. Now she's back in the news, so I thought it would be time to take a look at her and Devin Nunes, because the United States-Russia connection has still not, it's incomplete. It's still under investigation. And unfortunately, until all the information is in, it's going to be on hold. Now, at the time of this recording, Venus is retrograde, and in a couple of weeks, Mercury's getting ready to go retrograde. So we know that there is a hurry up and wait tone in life, to life in general, and anything that can be confused during this time will be. Okay, so let's look at Sally Yates. I do not have a birth time for Sally. I wish I did, but she has some absolutely fascinating aspects in her birth chart. I'm going to compare her chart to Trump's, and then I'll do the same thing with Devin Nunes. I keep wanting to say Nunes, but I won't. Okay, Sally Yates. First of all, this is her solar chart, and you can see she's got a packed first house here. We do not know what her ascendant is. We do not know the exact degree of her moon, but we know that her moon is in Leo. We also know that her Mercury is in Leo, in 16 Leo 50. We know that her Uranus is in 21 Leo 45, and we know that her Sun is in 27 Leo 26. So she has, we can't include the moon in this, but she has a Mercury conjunct Uranus, conjunct the Sun in Leo. And that Sun-Uranus conjunction is that of a rebel. But I want to mention also that her Pluto is in 5 degrees and 35 minutes of Virgo. So she has a Pluto as part of that conjunction. Now, I just want to tell you something very interesting that you may have already picked up on if you've been studying Trump's chart. She has a Sun-Uranus conjunction, which means that there is a hidden rebel here. There is somebody who is going to be unpredictable in a certain amount, in certain situations, but the Pluto will control it. Who else do we know who has a Sun-Uranus conjunction? I'll give you a hint. It's in his 10th house. Trump. Trump has the Sun-Uranus conjunction as well. So it's very, very interesting. With Mercury and the Sun and Uranus and the Moon in her first house, there is a very strong me first tone to this chart. Again, that is not necessarily egocentric. It's simply that this is the lifetime in which she's focused on herself. Mercury is what we think about and talk about. And as a Leo, she does it dramatically. The Sun, again, rules Leo. It's the center of life and can be a very creative person. Uranus there is rebellious, which I mentioned, but she is personally rebellious. Okay. Her second house, which is traditionally ruled by Taurus, it's the area of money and values and possessions. Pluto wants to be in control of her money. Venus there creates more money. Venus is the lesser benefic. Yes, it's in Virgo, so she's very careful about her money and any money entrusted to her. And the North Node in that second house does indicate that she will be very successful financially through her own efforts. in with the South Node in the 8th house, she has helped other people with their monies and their values. However, she also, because the 8th house is the house of secrets, has a talent and innate ability for ferreting out secrets. And of course, she had information that she wanted to share and then was fired, so she couldn't share it. And now it's coming up that she may be given an opportunity to share it, which is why I'm sharing her planets with you. She has Neptune in the 4th and 8 Scorpio. And so her home is her haven. However, I'm not sure with Neptune there how much time you have to spend in that 4th house. Neptune, you know, kind of dissolves things wherever it is. Another interesting note, when she was born, and this is true for everybody born on her birthday, August 20th, 1960, Jupiter went direct that day. Jupiter in Sagittarius, its own sign, 23 degrees of Sag. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's also the planet of truth. And in Sagittarius, it will take a stand for the truth and its principles. And that's what she was doing. She was fired just before she could do it. It's just amazing how astrology just sheds a light on things. Now, it's in her 5th house. So, I don't know her family background, but if she has children, she would be crazy about them. They would be terrific, you know, and they would be blessed. Saturn in Capricorn, 12 degrees of Capricorn. In her 6th house, she is the authority at work. She is the leader, and she is a very hardworking leader, Saturn in Capricorn people. We did the South Node with Mars in 11 of Gemini in her 11th house. Mars is what comes first to us, and the 11th house is the people, her friends. And Mars is the fighter, so she'll fight with them or for them. How interesting is that? Now, let me share with you the comparison to Trump's chart. Okay. Slip it here. Okay, I have not included all of Trump's planets. I'm only including the ones that Sally triggers in his chart. Again, conjunctions tell the tale. Let's start at the top. Her Mars, the fighter, sits on Trump's Uranus. And so that triggers his rebellion all over the place. It triggers his 10th house. It triggers him to be the leader, to be the unpredictable leader. And in her case, he was. Look at this 12th house activity. Now, in Trump's chart, we know he has Pluto and Mars. Pluto has to be in control behind the scenes. Mars is angry behind the scenes. Okay. And now Pluto means many things. And we know it's control or transformation. It can be, in the 12th house, it can be controlled by hidden enemies or controlling hidden enemies. They don't come to light. They're handled. There is a handling of hidden enemies that doesn't come to light. Okay. We can't deal with the moon from Sally Yates' chart because we don't know the degree, but we do know that her Mercury, the conscious mind, sits on Trump's Pluto, triggering a great deal, a need to control. Her Uranus sits on his Mars and ascendant. Now, let me just look at the degrees here for a second. Okay. Her Uranus, which is the rebel, sits on his Mars, which is the fighter, and the ascendant, the most personal point in the chart. So she is a troublemaker behind the scenes to him, and she triggers his anger. Her Sun sits on his Mars and ascendant. Now, when someone's Sun sits on your ascendant, they light you up, but they also are the light of your life. They are the authority. Very interesting. Trump has his Sun in the 10th house for the world to see his authority, but with Sally's Sun on his ascendant, she then becomes the authority figure. Very interesting. So, of course, it's behind the scenes. And her Pluto on his ascendant also says she has a control over him. Those of you who study astrology know I'm telling the truth. Okay, Venus and the North Node in the 1st house. she helps him feel beautiful. She helps him like himself, and she can help him. If he would allow her to, she could actually help him, and who knows, she may actually be able to do that. Her Neptune in his third house inspires his ideas. Her Jupiter on his moon and south node, very interesting. Jupiter is the great benefic, but when a moon south node conjunction are in the chart, what this does is Jupiter increases the emotional need for home and family and just more of the same. And Jupiter can be a friend, so that she can be a family friend, and perhaps was because of the fourth house connection to the south node in a past life I'm talking about. Saturn, her Saturn is in his fifth house, so she's no fun to be around for him. She's Her south node in his seventh house, they have had interactions before in past lives, and that brings us back to the Mars on the midheaven, so that she sets him off publicly. Okay, that was Sally. Now let's talk about Devin Nunes. Okay. I'm going to put, once again, I don't have his birth time, and I'm really sorry. I wish we did have it. Perhaps at some point we will. He, of course, is chairman of the U.S. House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And I don't have to tell you, at the time of this recording, he's been in the news, needless to say. Okay, let me talk to you first about his chart. Well, he has Pluto, the Sun, Uranus, and Mercury in the first house. How interesting. Pluto in 4 Libra, Sun in 8 Libra, Uranus in 22 Libra, and Mercury in 28 Libra. Libra is a very charming sign. They really are. They say the right thing at the right time to the right person. They are diplomatic, is what they are. With a strong first house, with Pluto conjunct the Sun, he is in control of himself. He can be charming, and he is in control of himself. Now, Uranus and Mercury are conjunct, but they're not conjunct the Sun and Pluto. So he thinks about himself. He can, with Uranus conjunct Mercury, have a really good sense of humor and say things that are shocking and, in fact, may be very accurate. A Mercury-Uranus conjunction can trigger a great deal of psychic ability, which may be, he may have learned not to blurt things out, even though it's in Libra, which is diplomatic. That Sun-Pluto conjunction may have taught him, don't say it. Think it, don't say it. He has Venus in the second house. Let me look here. So does Sally, very interesting. So they're both money makers, which is great. His is in 21 of Scorpio. He has a moon Neptune in Sag in his third house. We don't have the degree of his moon, but this is a very intuitive placement. Can be divinely inspired with Neptune in that house. So he's got a great amount of intuition and psychic ability, and he's in control of it. He's in control of himself. Very, very interesting. His North Node in the fourth house says that this is the incarnation in which he really wants to create a home base, a nest, because in past lives, look what he's got up here, the South Node and Saturn. South Node, Saturn says, I was the boss in a past life. I am the boss in this life, in the 10th house. I'm the authority. I determine what happens. I'm the leader. I know it's a solar chart, but the solar chart works. Okay. And you want to balance those nodes. So even though he's mastered leadership, he's instinctively drawn to it. He has Jupiter in his fifth house, so he loves to have fun. It's in 2 degrees of Aquarius. And he, like Sally, I don't know his family situation, but if he has kids, They would be friends to him. He would enjoy them very much. He has Mars in the 8th. Isn't that interesting? Wherever Mars is the fighter, wherever Mars is, that's what comes first to you. The 8th house is the house of secrets and other people's money. That's what's been going on in the situation with Russia. Trump's money, the people who are in his circle having made great sums of money, and secrets. And the problem is he shared a secret with the president that he didn't share with his committee. There it is. So let's talk about excuse me, can't multitask. The comparison between Trump and Nunes. As you can see, there are only a couple of things that he triggers in Trump's chart. Now, if I had his birth time, we might find that his vertex sat on a key point in Trump's chart. Or we would have his midheaven and ascendant, and I would be able to share with you what that triggered. Those are very key points. However, let's just go with what we've got. So, Nunes's South Node and Saturn are on Trump's Mercury. And Saturn, it says, slow it down, make sure it's practical, make sure it's logical, but it can squelch things, is what I'm saying. He has Saturn in Cancer. And what this does is it forces Trump to think very seriously, particularly in terms of Congress, particularly in terms of friends. And the South Node there is not helpful to Trump because the South Node can be the area of where it drains your energies. It takes away from Trump's thinking and talking. In other words, Trump needs to be careful of what he says because Nunes is saying, no, don't share everything. I don't mean those are his exact words, but that's the essence of what that means. There is a seriousness to Saturn that says speak with authority and speak seriously and tell it right, the correct way. Okay, Nunes's Sun, Pluto are on Trump's Neptune in the 2nd house. Neptune is in the 2nd house is non-materialistic. It can be inspired as to how to create money. And there can be, I hate to say this, but Neptune clouds things. So there may be some cloudiness about Trump's income, like the fact that we haven't seen his taxes would fall under this, So Pluto from Nunes says that there's a control factor there, but the Sun inspires Trump to create more money or to obfuscate his finances. So there is a great deal of control that Nunes has over Trump's money. Nunes's Uranus sits on Trump's Jupiter. Now, his Uranus is right on Trump's 3rd cusp. So that's the unpredictable, the explosive statement. And so on Trump's Jupiter, there's a lot more of that. And Jupiter in his 2nd house indicates that there can be some unpredictability about his money because Jupiter's in the 2nd house in his relationship with Nunes. Now, Mercury and Venus in the 3rd, lovely ideas, more communication for Trump, very nice. Moon and Neptune in the 4th house. Well, in Trump's chart, he has his Moon South Node there. And so Nunes triggers the desire for Trump to protect his family and can indicate there's some confusion or obfuscation that Nunes brings to the real estate picture and the family picture. Because remember, the fourth house is real estate, and this could be Trump's real estate holdings. The North Node in the fifth house helps him speculate. Nunes' Jupiter in the sixth house can expand his work, and Mars in Trump's ninth house has Trump saying, I want to expand my reach. I want to take a stand for my principles. I'm going to fight for my principles, and I'm going to fight with and for foreigners. And this is foreigners of all types in all situations. But Mars in the ninth, you fight for your principles. So that's the way I'm looking at it today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have questions, of course, please ask, and I always appreciate those of you who are so kind and thoughtful when you ask questions. So, till my next Trumpology report, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours, and may the stars shine brightly on the United States of America.